Hello, and welcome to the first ever episode of my podcast, Becoming Adult, where I'll discuss my journey through self-improvement, pitfalls along the way, and hopefully stumble onto some pearls of wisdom, and maybe it'll help my listeners along the way. I'll be candid and I'll talk about my journey toward better relationships with family, coworkers, friends, and most importantly, myself. I might talk career, health, might talk diet, but it's all in the lens of me, a woman in her late 30s who needs to be better since now others depend on her, look up to her, as I'm sure others are looking up to you to be the matriarch, the head of your family, the leader of your family. So enough talking about me in the third person. Who am I? My name is Sarah. I am 38 years old in 2021. Okay. And I am a mom of two teenage sons. I have a 16-year-old and I have a 13-year-old. My 20s were spent changing diapers, and right away I became a mom. So maybe this hyperactive need to be responsible is because in my 20s I was mom and the world was serious immediately. I didn't have a decade of fun going to concerts, going traveling, spending a year in Australia. Some of my friends did, learning to surf. I didn't do that. I learned to be mom, please my husband, cook for the family. I was humbled immediately as a mom, constantly getting insulted, not necessarily on purpose, but being a mom, as other moms know, you get insulted a little more than you'd like to be. You also have teachers' meetings, your kid's not paying attention in class kind of conversations. And so, my mind is constantly toward the, let me improve, let me be better. How can I be better? And sometimes I just want to relax that part of my brain. And I know other friends of mine struggle with the same kind of thoughts. This podcast is a way to calm that monkey part of our brain, give it some space to talk through the issues, to be better, and then put it aside so that I can enjoy my life. In the good old days, we were able to sit down and write in a journal, and maybe others do. Maybe there are healthier people out there than me who sit down every night, write in their journal, talk through their day, their thoughts. This podcast is that for me. And I want to give it to you. Maybe my thoughts, my musings, my unscramblings of the day, of certain events in my week, maybe that can help you too. So again, who am I? I am a mom. I work at a tech company. I am a marketer. I have two teenage sons. I have a husband who is supportive, who loves me, and I'm very grateful for that. And I am someone who was born and raised in California, so I'm a Cali girl. I am Hispanic. I have dark hair, brown eyes, just to kind of give you a visual, and I am Sarah. So let's just get started. How did this podcast start? It actually started as a Toastmasters project. So at work, I am a Toastmaster. We practice our speeches in a supportive group. And one of the projects was do a podcast. And I thought that would be very interesting. I could have done something else. I could have written a blog or some other project, but the whole podcast thing kind of was up my alley. On my time off, I do some podcasts for my company and some other voice work for my husband's job and some other businesses. I'll do voice work. So I thought, I have the equipment. Why not? So I thought, what would people want to hear about? Well, I know that in this environment, there's a lot of people who try. Moms try to be better, dads try to be better. And I thought, you know what? We're all on this journey for self-improvement. At the end of the day, we don't really know what you're supposed to do with this life, but we're always striving to be better. And I was musing the other day that more and more people are calling me ma'am. The professionals that I deal with, the doctors, the dentists, they're getting younger and younger. And I noticed that I'm having less patience at work with people maybe not coming to the table with professional standards, or when I'm out in society and some people are goofing off. I notice I get peeved a little bit more. And I also notice that I have more in common with people about to retire than those just entering the workplace. And then I thought, wait, am I old now? Am I the elder in society? When did that happen? Have I become an adult? Wait, what does that mean then? Am I meeting the standards of what I always thought it was to be an adult? So I had this realization that I'm the professional, I'm the adult, with not just achievements from universities or work experience, but rather I have years of life experience that gives me an edge. I had this epiphany that I'm more quick to voice my opinions about things because I have opinions that were built on life experience. So then why don't I always see myself as the adult? Other people I noticed are looking at me to guide them, lead them, give them direction. And yet, why haven't I established that in my mind? And when I look back, I realize, wait a minute, I have gone and am continuing to go on this burgeoning metamorphosis. I am more quick to voice objections to things that maybe before I would just sweep under the rug. No, I'm like, no, this is the way I like things and I'm just going to stick to it and not apologize for them. I am an adult. I have gone through this metamorphosis and I continue to go through it. And I look in the mirror and I say, you know what? You're a woman now. You're not a girl. You're a middle-aged woman. You're not a people pleaser anymore. And things are shifting. Things are happening. And this podcast is it's like a hidden gift. It was a hidden opportunity. It was an unexpected way to kind of talk through some of these things. I know that was a very long-winded introduction, but I think I can proceed now. In this episode, I will like to talk about an experience I had this weekend or 2 weekends ago. And, I'm just going to get personal. It was an argument. And in life, we're constantly going to be in conflict. We're going to be in conflict with society at some point. Conflict with your spouse, with your kids, with in-laws, with coworkers. And you know what? We always have, like a little rule. Don't let it bother you. We always have a rule to tell ourselves, don't let it bother you. Don't, just move on or accept people for who they are. We have these little adages or things that we can think about, little rules or benchmarks to help us ease the tension that comes with natural conflict in your life. But when you're in it, some of those go out the window. So I'm just going to get personal and I will tell you about a conflict I had and what I learned about it. And maybe it will help you too. So it all started, I got invited by my younger sister. My sister is 7 years younger, so she's a little more fun, carefree. She was always the giggly, fun, loose. Maybe loose is not the good word. She's not loose. She was always a little bit more just open to experience. I have that too, but she really is a little more free. And she said, hey, she's married. She has a kid. She goes, let's all go to Not Scary Farm. Now, I had not been to Not Scary Farm in, say, 15, 20 years. So it's been a very long time since I've done something that fun. I have teenage sons and I thought, you know what? I'm just going to do it. Let's do it. They would love this too. So we all went and I invited my husband and I got the tickets. My husband is a very take charge guy and he is not necessarily open to some more youthful experiences. He's a little bit older than me. He's about 6 years older, not much. And so we go to the park and we're on the road. There is intense amount of traffic, stop and go the whole time. There were some car accidents along the way and it was a miserable drive. We had a little tiff about how Google calculates ETA. We both don't know. None of us work at Google. We never looked into the AI, the algorithm that goes into establishing the ETA of a Google distance, but we decided to get into a little tiff about it. But really the stress is because we're in traffic, okay? That's what the real issue is. It's traffic, it's late. My husband decided not to eat dinner. I did before we went on the road, so we're all a little bit on He's a little bit on edge. I'm a little bit less on edge, but just by virtue of him driving and the way he drives puts me on edge. So we're all on edge. We get to Not Scary Farm and there is absolutely no room to move as you enter into the parking lots because it is packed brim with more people than we have ever seen. More people than you see at Disneyland. Just the streets of Buena Park just do not accommodate this very well. We finally found a parking spot, not in the parking lot. And this was like in a neighborhood and we decided just to continue. We already paid for the tickets. I can see my husband's already in a bad mood. We park, we walk to the entrance. The line is long. We met with my sister, her husband, and we're all in line and there are thousands upon thousands of people. I wanted to have a good time and the first thing I'm thinking of is his stomach. Maybe I'm too invested in his stomach, but I'm his wife and I've been feeding him for 14 years of marriage. And I'm thinking my husband's got to eat or else he's going to be miserable. Meanwhile, I'm trying to be the glue of the group. I want my sons to have a good time. I want my sister to have a good time. This was her idea. My brother-in-law, I want to make sure he's also having a great time, but he always seems to. So we're all good there with him. They grab a beer. Good. Get that beer. Calm your nerves. Honey, you've been fighting traffic. Thank you. I know it's been a stress. Grab your beer. My sister's like, let's go in these lines. Let's go into these mazes. That's why we're here. So we're passing mazes. I'm looking left and right for food to feed this man's stomach. My sister wants to go on the ride or through a maze. I see a maze to my left. 75-minute wait. I see food to my right. I say, honey, go grab food. You and Tim, my brother-in-law, you guys go grab food. She and I will stand in line. You come meet us after. Okay, we separate. We go. Separate. So my sister and I are in line. We're laughing, having a good time as we always are. People keep coming and scaring at us. We don't get a moment's rest, but that's the experience. It's fun. It's foggy. It's scary. There's literally monsters coming out to scare you, and we are having the time of our lives. Now it's been 20 minutes. Now it's been 30 minutes. Now it's been close to an hour, and my husband and my brother-in-law are still not with us. They still have not joined us. So I text him, hey, do you plan on joining us anytime soon? Are you still eating? No response. Okay, well, as we're moving through the line, I'm trying to find landmarks so it's easy for me to explain to them how to come join us after. Because I have this vision in my mind of us all being together and as a happy-go-lucky family going through the mazes and having fun, capturing the youth of Halloween. I call him, no answer. Call him again, no answer. And this goes on for 4 or 5 times, no answer. So finally my sister calls her husband, hey, did you guys eat yet? We're in line. Are you going to join us anytime soon? She's good either way if he meets us, if they meet us or not, whatever. But I'm not. I'm kind of getting irritated. I'm like, where are you? I'm holding this spot for you. I follow you all the time. Why aren't you following me? That is the subtext. That's me at a subconscious level. It's, I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm in my 30s now and I want someone to follow me now and I don't want to always be the follower. Who knows? Maybe I'm overthinking this. Anyway, the response I got was a flippant response. Oh, were we supposed to meet you? Okay, now I'm starting to get irritated. He said, I didn't know I was supposed to come meet you. And I said, I've been waiting for you for an hour. What took you so long? Oh, I didn't know. Were we supposed to go? And it was the tone. It was the flippancy. It was the disregard for me waiting in line. And was it trivial? Yes. So what do? I throw in another curveball. Well, didn't you think to buy me food while you're getting yourself food? His response was, I didn't know I was supposed to give you food. I thought you already ate at home. And the rest of the night, it just did not proceed well. He ultimately left early from the park. He and my brother-in-law left early. And it was my sister and I and the boys. Event fell way below expectation. We were irritated. We kind of ignored each other the rest of the night. And it was just kind of uncomfortable. And then I thought, you know what? I need time to figure out how this could have gone better. Because I know there are two sides of every story. I know I contributed too. And was it a big blowout argument? Was it anything big? No, it was trivial. But these little trivialities can add up over time, and I don't want to be a contributor to a substandard life. I want to be a contributor to a happy life. And so I'm doing the responsible thing, and I'm taking a little bit of time out of my day to think about it. I took a ride on my own, and I drove to the Living Desert Zoo. On the way, my mind was filled with just jumblings of why I was irritated. And I know I did something that contributed to the discomfort of that evening. But what was it that I could have done better? You know what I did? I talked out loud to myself. And now I don't normally do this. And I know people who talk to themselves, but I always thought people who talk to themselves were crazy. So I never did that. But I thought my mind is a little bit in a jumbled mess. I have feelings of angst, of irritation, tad bit resentment. Now that's too strong of a word, I would say, but some resentment toward my husband for not contributing to my fun. I know I sound bratty. As I was driving to the zoo alone, because I desperately needed time alone, and I don't normally do this. I don't normally go alone anywhere. I said, I need to talk this out, but I don't want to talk with anyone else about it. I want to talk to me. I want to seek my own counsel. I thought, what did I do to contribute to this issue? Was it A, he was just thinking about his own needs, or B, was it my tone? I just started talking this out, and I learned there was dominoes that was being set up in this event that created a lot of anxiety. When we live life, we enter into certain environments that are very highly charged. Just one little push will set the whole thing off. It was crowded. There was traffic. Some of us were hangry. And we were tired. It was dark, and people were literally jumping out from the shadows, causing us to scream. And we are not accustomed to being out at night. Our idea of being out at night is maybe going to the store on a late ice cream run. Definitely not going to Not Scary Farm. It's just not us. So we were already in a highly charged mode. And I realized I set it off with my tone. My tone of the question, where are you? Why aren't you in line? That set the whole thing off. He was already ready to be charged. And I went, I pushed it. I pushed the domino. He tried to make it better. And I was already peeved. And I realized, you know what? I was angry. I remember an article that I read about anger. And it was a cursory glance. These days I don't read too many articles. But it was a cursory glance, and it talked about anger. Anger needs to be expressed. In that moment, I was angry. Angry because I had expectations that were not met. I remembered this article that said, there are 3 ways to deal with anger. You can deny it, you can express it, and you can forgive it. Denying is very dangerous, and it is not something that I can deal with very well. My personality is such that everything needs to be expressed. And then it gets released, and it's no longer sitting on my chest, causing high blood pressure. So I had this anger, and I expressed it. I got rid of it. When I think of express, the image that comes to my mind is literally expressing milk from a cow. I know it's gross, but like if you ever recall nursing, the feeling of like releasing the milk is so relieving. You have to express it. You have to get it out of you. And so that's what I thought about, this relieving of expressing it. But the way I expressed it that night was of an angry tone. So I know that in order to serve myself, I need to express it. But it doesn't mean I need to have an angry tone. I told my husband, hey, look, I learned something. I need to express it. I need to express my anger. But I didn't have to use that tone. What I could have done was use my words. Gosh, there were so many times I made fun of moms who'd say, use your words, use your words. And now I'm telling myself, use your words. Words hurt less than tone. Words hurt less than tone. It's the tone that gets you so in trouble with your loved ones. It's your tone that hurts someone's feeling. It's the subtext that is so dangerous. And that is what I discovered on my ride to the zoo as I was talking to myself. It was the way I expressed this irritation that got under my husband's skin that kept a wall between us the whole night. We were out in a fun place, a place that was meant to be fun. It was my tone of irritation. And it seems meaningless. It seems so trivial. But that triviality, if I just had learned to control it, affected the whole night. It was my tone that is more dangerous than words. If I would have said, honey, I thought you were going to be here already. I'm holding the line. Are you going to be here? And if he said no, then I would have said, I'm irritated that you're not here. If I just lowered my pitch just a little bit and I said, hey, I'm irritated, he would have at least had the signal of, I'm giving you a chance. I'm giving you a chance with my emotion. When you curb your tone and you give the gift of a word to your significant other, or whoever you're dealing with, you're giving them an opportunity to take the gift of knowledge. I take your words, I take the words of your feelings, and I am given a chance to deal with it. But if you straight up have your tone, you're telling the other person, I don't trust you. It's too late. I'm already mad and now I'm reacting. I'm in a reactive state. And I realized to go from 0 to bad negative tone is actually kind of immature. I need to show that I'm in control of my emotions as a woman who is in her late 30s. It's all about becoming an adult, right? The other thing I learned was to always give the other person the benefit of the doubt and state it in your communication with them. You need to have this buffer of an escape route for your other person, because you would want the same for yourself. I could have said, I've been waiting for you for an hour. Am I assuming that you were supposed to meet me? Give him that out. Give the other person the out. Maybe I misunderstood that my perspective was the correct one. If he takes that out, he has that privilege to take that out. He could have told me, I didn't plan on joining you. I thought we was just going to stay here and eat, and you were going to go on that ride with your sister. You must take ownership, is something I've learned, of the assumptions that you make. So that was something else I learned. I need to not assume. We know it all, that silly little quote, what happens when you assume, it makes an ass out of you and me, excuse my language. Well, I shouldn't have assumed. And if I've assumed something, take ownership and responsibility of your assumptions that don't necessarily match that of other people. So this is what I learned when I was talking to myself like a crazy person on the way to the zoo by myself. I gave myself the grace of going alone somewhere to talk it out because I was irritated and I was a muddled mess. So I learned these things. Anger should not be denied. Anger should be expressed, and then it can be forgiven. I learned that I need to express my anger, but I've also discovered that tone hurts way more than words. So in order to express that anger for my benefit, so it can be a relief to me, I need to express it using words. And in order for it to be a benefit for others and for those I'm in partnership or relationship with or have any sort of communication with, I need to use my words and not tone, because tone can be very hurtful. I also learned that what I could have done better is offered grace and a way out and the benefit of a doubt in the communication, in the moment, in the heat of the moment with my partner. Offer that space. Offer a benefit of the doubt. The benefit of the doubt in this case was maybe you didn't intend on joining me. And if I made assumptions in a situation, I need to take ownership and responsibility for those assumptions. I learned all this while talking to myself like a whack job on the way to the zoo. When I got to the zoo and I talked it out, I had myself a nice little lunch, a glass of wine. I looked at all the beautiful trees, took pictures, just spent time alone in a beautiful setting. The weather was in October in Palm Desert. It was absolutely perfect. And I realized I needed time alone. I needed to trust my own counsel. I didn't call my aunt. I didn't call my sister. I didn't call anyone else. I talked to myself. This was a new thing for me. And it's like, I know I need to trust myself now. I've had enough life experience. I can trust myself. I went home. My husband invited us all to go to a nice dinner. Went to dinner. And I said, look, honey, I want to talk to you about the other night when we kind of had a sour night. I want to talk to you about my part in this. And I want to tell you what I could have done better. I want to tell you that I understand there were dominoes set up. It was set up for a night of irritation. You felt the irritation, I felt the irritation, but I know I could have done something better. I know I could not have talked to you in that way, in that tone. I know I could have given you the benefit of the doubt. I know that I could have not made the assumption that you were just being plain rude. But really, I could have asked where I went wrong in this. And I could have talked to you with a little bit more respect. And if I was irritated, then I could have used my words and taken ownership for my feelings. He didn't say, oh my gosh, honey, you're right, I love you. That's not in his makeup. But I saw him do something with his mouth. I saw him try to control a smile. And it wasn't like a laughing smile or a mean smile. It was like a smile of relief. My husband likes to control his emotions a little bit, probably something I should learn. And I saw that he was humbled by it. I could see in that quick, minute second that he was pleased and he was happy and grateful. That's what his expression said in that brief moment that women, and maybe just humans in general, are so good at picking up on. And then we proceeded to have a nice dinner, and in the next few hours, he said, "Hey, you know what, honey? Thank you for saying that to me." He goes, "In that moment that you told me that, I think I loved you more now than I ever have." And I looked at him and I was like, "What?" He goes, "Yes." He goes, "Thank you." And I was stunned. And he also said something else. He said, "You should have invited me to the zoo. I would have gone." And I said, "Well, you know what? I'm glad that I went alone to the zoo. I'm glad I had my space to talk to myself so that I can come back and join you as like someone who's mature and emotionally strong and there for you." And I just became an adult in that moment. I became an adult because I owned up. And I've owned up many times before, so I don't know why he's getting all happy about it. But I think I know why. I think he felt guilty about how he acted, about him leaving early, about him being pissy. We all get pissy, but I think he holds himself to high standards as well. We have a really good marriage. But every now and then we get into little arguments, and it's normal, But I think he was kind of mad at himself. And when I told him how I was wrong and how I could have been better too, I think it relieved some of that pressure that he holds to himself. So I was like, "Honey, I'm glad I was alone at the zoo. I need to be making more time for myself because I didn't realize how much I needed girl time," which I know sounds nuts, but girl time in my own time. I needed time for me alone. And he understood. And then I suggested, let's go to Universal Studios Horror Nights. I think that's what it's called. We need a do-over from that other night. And he said, "Okay, fine." But this time, we just came back from last night going to Universal Horror Nights. We just needed a do-over, a fresh start, a fresh memory. We were running a little late, and he goes, "Hey, I need to grab something to eat." And I said, "Why?" He goes, "Because I'm not starting the night hangry." And then as we were on the road driving to Universal, I put earbuds in and I was listening to a podcast. And he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm listening to a podcast." And he goes, "Why aren't you with the family?" I said, "Because I don't want to pay attention to your driving because I don't need to start off irritated." So we learned, and we have our own little tricks. And then I ended up being just awesome. I mean, we had a great time. We couldn't have asked for anything better. It was a little expensive. It was an expensive do-over. But we had a great memory. And I'm glad about the whole process. I'm glad for the little rough start because I learned something about myself. I learned a lot. And I think in that little spark of an argument, in the aftermath of analyzing it and talking to myself, I was one step closer in becoming an adult. So anyway, that was a very long-winded way of sharing something that I learned. I learned a lot in that moment. It may not seem a lot. I paid the price of discomfort in the lesson that I learned. And again, the lesson is recognize the situation as it's being developed. Is it a high stress situation? You got to be on your toes a little bit more, because the first thing to go are your interpersonal relationships. Okay. So I learn, take notice of that, express your feelings using your words, watch your tone, give the benefit of the doubt and express that benefit, and take leadership and responsibility for your assumptions. And sometimes you just got to go to the zoo alone and talk to yourself. That was my first episode. I hope you enjoy it. We all have stories like this. I will share another story next week on my journey of becoming an adult. Thank you, and until then, have a nice week.